Welcome to the Strength for Life podcast, where smart strength training meets real life. We're Dr. Matt and Nicole Klingberg, founders of Village Fitness and Physical Therapy. Here, you'll learn what really works in the gym, at home, and for life. Today on the Strength for Life podcast, we're going to talk about a painful subject.
Ooh, what is it?
It is muscle soreness.
Muscle soreness.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Not fun. Something we get asked about often from clients. We're going to cover things like, does muscle soreness mean that you got a good workout? And if you don't get sore, does that mean that you're no longer getting a good workout? We'll talk about what actually causes muscle soreness on a physiologic level. We'll talk about what causes it in terms of the training that you're doing, how to avoid it, how to have less of it. And then also, if you do get sore, what to do to recover fully.
Yeah.
So Nicole, when was the time in your life where you were the most sore that you've ever been?
That's hard because I've been sore at various points in my training at different points. But I would say the most recent was a few quarters ago, and I came back. I think I had maybe done, it was like a week and a half since I had done squats. So it was after rest week, and we were still doing reps of 7 during our sets instead of 5. And so when I came back, I did, all of the warm-up sets at 7, and then I did my 3 target sets. And my second target set, my legs were just starting to feel like jelly. And I think I had done like 115 or 120 in benchmark week. And then I came back and I had backed it off to like 95. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Like this, I backed it off enough. Like, I'm not going to be that sore. It'll be okay. And my second target set, I was like, what is happening? Like, this is embarrassing, but I can't tell anybody. Like, I'm supposed to be setting the example.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be able to finish this set. And so after my second set, I like kind of walked around and I was like, oh no, like, what am I going to do? And I get into my third set and I almost didn't finish. Like it was embarrassing. And I want to say Taylor was my coach and he kind of laughed at me. He was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think so. Like my legs literally were already sore. Like the inflammation had kicked in and it was horrible. And then I do feel like it was like a week of it hurt to get up and down off the floor, up and down off the toilet. It was painful.
Dang, a full week.
A full week. Yeah. It was like, I remember doing squats the next week and I did less weight. Like I think I went down to 85. I was like, I'm still sore. It was not good. So that was the most recent. What about you?
Mine was in college. And for context, when I was at UC Davis, I met Nicole. I fell in love with her, and she was very into bicycling. And so she invited me, or
some people would call it cycling.
Yeah, cycling. She may have invited me, or I invited myself to start riding with her. And I got so into the biking that I joined the race team my last year of college. And I was riding my bike like 5 days a week. I was all in.
With me.
And sometimes not with you.
No. But when you joined the team, it was partially because I was doing
Yes.
Yeah.
I joined the team to hang out with you more, but you
also got really into
it.
Yeah.
And I stopped lifting weights. And I was like just riding my bike, racing, training like 5 to 6 days a week. And I did that for about 4 months for the cycling season. And then the season ended. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with my life now that cycling's over? And so a friend of mine invited me to come to CrossFit. You didn't go with me.
Yeah, I did.
You
both did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had never tried CrossFit. And so you're like, let's try CrossFit. Now we're done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I in my memory, the memory is just so painful. The one I'm about to share that I must have blacked out. Well,
I remember too going there and I was like, this is a little sketchy. It's like typical, like go into a warehouse area, by the train tracks.
Yeah,
like,
by the tracks.
And it's so funny because it's like Davis is such a nice town, but there's like a few areas that are just, maybe not the best. And this is where this CrossFit was.
So first workout, we show up. Just keep in mind, it's important detail. I haven't strength trained in 4 months, but I'm very cardiovascularly fit and also 22 years old, not fully developed frontal lobe. The only smart thing I did was to date Nicole at that point. That was about it. And so I show up, and the workout of the day is this workout called Murph. And the workout is you run a mile, you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then you run another mile. And I remember during the workout, like doing 100 pull-ups and doing the kipping pull-ups where you're like moving your whole body to get up there. It's like, man, my arms are like dead. I could barely feel them. And then I went to do all the push-ups. It's like, I'm like just barely getting through. By the end of the push-ups, I was doing 1 rep at a time, trying to get through this thing. And the squats were no problem. As I was running, I was like a little lightheaded from all the other training, but I was okay. I go to drive home, and I remember I stopped somewhere on the way home, and I didn't push my brake down all the way because I was like a little lightheaded and delusional, and I ran into a curb with my car. Like legitimately, I was going to like pull into a parking spot, and I went too far because my legs weren't working properly or my brain wasn't working properly, and it didn't damage my car or anything, but yeah. And then so I go to bed. I wake up the next morning, and I cannot straighten out my arms. My arms are locked at a 90-degree bend. I can go from 90 to like 180. So like halfway up to all the way up, but I can't go down past 90 degrees. They're locked. And I was like, oh my gosh, this has never happened before. And I was like, this hurts so bad. It was literally one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. And then I go to the bathroom. This is TMI, but I went pee, and my pee is brown.
Not good.
Not good. So I Google, I'm like, what the heck happened? Brown pee, hard workout yesterday. Rhabdomyolysis is the first thing that pops up, which is like you have so much breakdown of protein and muscle, and that has to go through your kidneys that your kidneys can actually go into kidney failure. Like, oh my gosh. But as with many problems in my life, I tend to just wait until they become a really big problem. And apparently that wasn't enough to send me to the hospital. I just started drinking a lot of water. And by the end of the day, I had kind of cleared out my pee, but my arms, they stayed stuck like that for a good 2 weeks. And this was like pretty close to our wedding. I remember thinking like, I'm going to be T-Rex at our wedding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to straighten out my arms and give you a hug. I'm going to be like this, you know? That was what I thought at the time. Or I literally had the thought, I was like, is this going to be the rest of my life? Like, or am I going to have like bicep surgery to release my tendons? But it slowly went away.
It did.
And I regained full normal extension of my elbows.
But it drastically decreased your ability to live your life
Yes.
and train for the next few weeks.
Yes. And so, I mean, I would almost put that in the category of injury. And I want to clarify for people the difference between delayed onset muscle soreness and actual muscle injury. And so delayed onset muscle soreness typically happens in the 12 to 24 hours after a strength training session or workout.
And sometimes it can be as late as like 48 to 72 hours later as well.
Yeah. And it'll typically last anywhere up to like 5 days if it's really bad. But usually it's like you feel it the next day. It's worse the 2 days after. And then by day 3, you're quite a bit better. Day 4, it's gone. You're back to normal. That's I think the most common pattern that people experience with late onset muscle soreness. Now, we're not talking about injuries. Muscle injury usually involves a like sudden sharp pain or pull. Often it's during the workout, and usually there's a clear moment where it's like I hurt myself right then and there. Like that's when it happened. I was doing lunges back in November, and I clearly remember this like sudden sharp pulling, and it was like it felt almost. It didn't hear it, but it felt audible, if that makes any sense. And I was like, I injured my adductor, and I had dealt with that for like a month after. That was an injury. That was not muscle soreness. That was an injury.
Yeah. I experienced something similar with back squats. I think I had done too much. And so I was already kind of tight. It was a cold morning, and I warmed up for my squats. And then you were in here doing something else, but working out. And I like went down, and it was like my first rep, I was like, that doesn't feel great on my like lower back. And then the second rep, it was like immediately I felt it, and I was like, I got to re-rack the weight, which doesn't happen very often. Like usually it's like you can kind of push through. And that was like, okay, I definitely slightly injured my back. Thankfully, I had enough, like background, I think, to know, okay, I'm going to stop now and not just like keep pushing through. But I do think that was, and it was like a very clear, like it didn't feel good for a couple days. I saw Dr. Eric a couple times that week. Took it easy for a week or so, and then like slowly increased the weight. But it definitely was different than like, oh, I woke up the next day and my back was sore and it's like kind of tight. So.
Yeah. So the thing we're going to talk about on the podcast today is muscle soreness, not an injury. So if you felt it during the workout, sudden, sharp pain, if there's any like bruising or discoloration, you probably have injured yourself, and the things we're going to talk about are not applicable.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing to go into is muscle soreness an indicator of a good workout? And I would say no, it's not. And unfortunately, that is a preconceived notion that a lot of people come in with. They'll say, well, if I'm not sore, that must mean that I didn't get a good workout. And really, muscle soreness is the indicator of that is if you haven't done it before. So it's like novel, or it's something you haven't done for a while, which is why we often have people come in after, say, a week or two off, and they'll be like, I was really sore. Or, for example, we don't do push-ups for a month in our programming, and we give people's arms and chest and elbows and wrists a little bit of a break, and then they do push-ups again at maybe the same level or an even easier level than they did before, and they'll still say, I was so sore. So it's often because it's novel, and it's something they haven't done for a while. It can also be from eccentric loading. So when you're in that eccentric phase, not the concentric, that is more likely to produce muscle soreness.
Yeah. I find squats are the worst.
Yeah,
Do we see that with clients?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think squats and push-ups.
Really push-ups, like chest and triceps, or just chest?
Chest, I would say, yeah, triceps, just like whole upper body. Like I feel like those are the two most common I hear after people haven't done them for a little while.
Yeah.
We
do more
them.
Volume with push-ups though.
That is
do the
true.
Sets
Yeah.
of 15.
Yeah. We do 3 sets of 15. So I think it's just the volume is a lot when they haven't done it for a little while, which is why we recommend going up at a much higher level when people are starting out with push-ups or they haven't done it for a little while.
One of the reasons we went away from 3 sets of 7 with squats is because of how sore people were getting. It's like, why are we doing this? You know, we were radically reducing the weight people were using in week 1 when they'd come back, but still doing 21 working reps, 3 sets of 7.
Yeah.
And people would be really sore.
Yeah. That, like I shared before, when I did squats, it was like, that 95 pounds, I was just like crushed for a week. And yet now I can do 95 pounds in my warm up and get up to, 140 and I don't get sore. So it's not necessarily the exercise. It's really just, or even the intensity of the movement. It really is just, it's something that your body hasn't done for a little while and it's a new stimulus. And then also the volume can be too high. There's lots of variables to that. Like you could do too many reps or the intensity is too high for your body at that point. And so your body doesn't know how to distinguish that type of stress. And so it just says, well, that was a lot of stress. So I'm going to send out inflammatory markers and start to repair whatever you did, that really incredibly high stress to your body. And so I think that's what often happens is people go too hard too soon. And that's what leads to the soreness.
Yeah. The kind of parallel question, but different is like, if I'm not getting sore anymore from my workouts, am I no longer getting a good workout? And that's one that I get a lot from people. It's like, hey, I've stopped feeling sore. And it's almost like we want to feel something from our workouts. We want to feel crushed and depleted. Some people.
Yeah. There's definitely those people that like their indication of a good workout is that they feel crushed and that they like sweat a ton. That's another question we get. Like, do those two things correlate to the effectiveness of the workout? Yeah. And I would say, no, not at all. And in fact, like the people that are even more trained, like they need more stimulus and more weight and volume to even get close to what someone who's more of a novice would get from strength training.
Yeah. So I had this really interesting experience maybe it was 2024, like the end of 2024, I started following this squat program where I was squatting 3 days a week. And I remember I was like, I'm going to start at 185 pounds and I'm going to go up by 5 pounds every single workout. And the first workout, 185, 3 sets of 5, I was so sore, so stinking sore. Like couldn't walk up and down the stairs without hobbling. My patients were asking me if I was injured. I was like limping. It's crazy. And I was like, I've done this weight before. I've done way more than this. Like, why am I so sore? But I hadn't squatted for a while. That was why. And then fast forward 12 weeks later, just 12 weeks, 3 months, I was squatting 315, almost twice as much as the original 185. The next day after squatting 315, the day after that, zero soreness whatsoever. Yeah. So it's like, was that workout of 315 not as good of a workout as 185? Absolutely not. In fact, I'm sure it was a better workout. It stressed my body. It was more of a stress on my body. My body was probably more prepared to adapt to that stress because I've been building up to it. But it just doesn't mean that you are or you are not getting a good workout. I think people need to detach soreness from quality of workout
Hmm.
and just think of it as like, yeah, I pushed myself, my body in a way that was new, or just sufficiently stressful to cause the soreness that I'm feeling.
And I think that's why people get sore every time they do boot camp style workouts and
Yeah.
things like CrossFit or Orangetheory, because usually there's no progression in the workouts. It's just different every time. And it's all about doing new things and exciting things and changing the stimulus. And so the workouts are constantly changing and there's no like progressive overload. So you're not building up each week like, okay, today I'm going to start with 15-pound squats. Next week, I'm going to do 20. The next week, I'm going to do 25. It's like one week you're doing goblet squats. The next week, you're doing back squats. The week after that, you're doing, in and out squats or some variation or jump squats. And so it's always changing. And so your body is just continuing to be stressed in different ways. And so often people that do those types of workouts are often sore very often. And then they lead that makes them think, oh, well, I have to be sore to get a good workout. And so I think that's where a lot of people have come in with that, like why they need to be sore to indicate a good workout.
Yeah. Tony Horton has this this phrase that he uses called muscle confusion. He's the creator of P90X,
Which we have done. We've done. Yeah.
Yeah. Both times I've tried to go through
You
the
got injured.
P90X3 program. Yes, I've gotten injured. And he has this thing called muscle confusion. It's like you always want to be shocking your muscles and making them guess what's next so that they never get used to it and they're constantly trying to adapt. It's like, well, that sounds good
Mm-hmm.
in theory, but what happens in actuality is that your body's not ready for the stress you impose upon it, and tissues incur injuries because there's so much novel stimuli. It's like going out in the sun for 10 hours when you haven't built up any sort of tan. Like, you're going to get burnt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
And I also like the shotgun analogy. So like I think a lot of those workouts, like a P90X workout or something where it's, a ton of different things that are really
Yes.
intense. It's like you're going and you're shooting a shotgun and you're just like, shooting bullets everywhere, hoping that it's going to hit the target. And it will. Some of them might hit the target and, you're just like going all out, giving it everything you've got. However, progressive overload is more like a sniper rifle. So that's like, it's really precise. It's really dialed in. Every movement and angle and even just like the air matters when you're firing a sniper rifle, and you're very calculated with how you do that.
Yeah.
You don't just go out and fire a sniper rifle.
Mhm.
You are really precise and controlled, and you make sure that you're, slowly building up to hitting that target right on.
And the older you get, the more grave the consequences are of missing the target.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally.
Because I think
Yeah.
that's like, you get injured, you burn out in your training,
Mm-hmm.
you get derailed, So I think for older folks, it's like you really need to dial in the stimulus and make sure that your body's ready for it. And the way for it to be ready for it is if it's gotten that same stimulus in a very similar fashion, but maybe
Mhm.
slightly lighter weight previously.
Yeah. And I think, if you want to hit a target, it's better to shoot the gun than to not. If we're using that analogy, like I would much rather someone go to a boot camp, especially in their 20s, say they're just like, that's the thing that's going to keep me active, than not do any type of exercise at all. But I think, like Matt said, it's going to get even more it's going to be even more important to have that precision and accuracy.
Yeah.
Because, you can go do a really intense CrossFit workout when you're 22. Like if you did that now, like you could have longer term effects,
Mhm.
and it has a bigger cost to your ability to do all the things that your life
Yeah.
requires you to do. When you're 22, it's like, you had to go sit in class and ride your bike. Like you didn't have that many responsibilities yet.
Right.
And so now it's like, well, I have a lot more responsibilities and kids and all these things that we're taking care of. And so like, I can't have my arms stuck for 2 weeks, nor would you want that. And I don't think anyone wants that. But
Nobody wants that.
I think that at the end of the day, like we're not saying that you should never do those things. I think it's just, it becomes more important the older you get to be more precise and calculated with your workouts. If you want to, improve your longevity and your strength for the long term, you're not just about maximizing like the one workout and your performance for that day.
There's a difference between exercise and training.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise is moving your body, getting your heart rate up, doing something. And there's a lot of value to that. And I think like if you're somebody that's like, I want to have a better day, exercise.
You'll always feel better
You'll
after you
always feel better.
exercise.
Like if
Mhm.
I find that if I go out in the morning and I do something, especially a thing that gets my heart rate up, I think clearer, I perform better at work, I'm a better human being, on and on the list goes. But if I actually want to build muscle or improve my endurance in a meaningful way that leads to an objective change, like if I want to ride faster up a hill, or if I want to be able to do a long hike backpacking trip where I'm carrying weight and be able to sustain that for multiple days, or if I want to actually build muscles, I need to train, not exercise. And training, the biggest difference is the specificity and the intentionality. So you're doing something that there's a means to the end, an end to the means. I don't know. One of those two things. Um, so you're focused on the goal. You're like, this is the thing I want to work towards. For our clients, it's often like, I want to build strength so that I can keep up with my grandkids. It's like, well, you need to not exercise. Like, sure, go ahead and exercise some, do it in a way that's not going to hurt you, but you also need to train. You need to show up to your workouts like I'm training. That's why we keep workout journals for every single one of our clients where we track what they did last time and we write in, this is what you should do next time based on what we're seeing today. That's training. And if you're not keeping track of your workouts and working towards a goal, you're not training. It's another reason why we do our benchmark week at the end of every quarter, because we're training. We're training towards something so that it has carryover into the rest of life.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's most people, I would say, especially as they get older and they're 40, 50 plus, like their goals are not to just have a one-time really good workout that just, increases their heart rate and, gives them the endorphins after. Like they're really going for long-term adaptation. Like
Yeah.
they want to build strength. They want to build muscle. They want to increase their bone density. Like they want their quality of life to be what it needs to be so that they can go do all the things that they want to do. And if you're always sore and your body's always wrecked or you're getting injured a lot because of that movement that you're doing, like that's not going to help with your longevity in the long term.
For
And I think
sure.
most people don't want that. And we quite often hear that when people come in, they'll say things like, I'm afraid of getting hurt. And I don't want to do that because when I've started exercising in the past, I've gotten injured. And I think a lot of that is due to like probably starting out too quickly
Mm-hmm.
and pushing too much too soon, the volume's too high or intensity. There's all sorts of things that can lead to that and their body just not being prepped for that. And really, most people like they shouldn't be aiming for soreness. Like, so that should
Yes.
not be the goal ever. Soreness is never going to be the thing that's going to lead you probably to reaching your long-term goals.
In the first 6 weeks of strength training, the research shows that most of the improvements you make are what are called neurological strength gains. So your muscles aren't actually getting bigger. Your brain is better learning how to recruit and activate said muscles. And I haven't seen this in the literature, but my personal belief is that it doesn't take that much weight to drive those adaptations, especially if you're coming back from not training for a long time or you've never trained before.
Mhm.
You just don't need a lot. And so it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. The risk isn't worth the reward to push heavy quickly. This is especially tough for guys
Yep.
who have lifted weights before. They trained in high school. It's like, man, you haven't trained for 30 years. Can we take it easy the first 3 weeks? But for a lot of guys, it's like, no, like I have to be getting to 100% in the first couple weeks, or I feel like I'm wasting my time or something.
Well, I think that's the same with, men and women. Men, it usually is like they have to go really high in the weight too soon. Women, sometimes it's like speed or how quickly to progress. But I think a lot of it comes back to where we've anchored our brains and what we've done in the past, like our past performance. And so I think that's why a lot of people do get sore after taking a break, say from squats for a little while. It's like you don't do squats for a few weeks, you go back to it, and often you actually need to lower it lower than you think you should. Like we'll tell people often like 20 to 30% after they've taken just a week off.
Yep.
Sometimes, depending on if they've had an injury or different things like that. But I think people come in with this anchor of like, I did, this much in high school. And so I should be able to do this. That's what their brain is anchored at. Or I did this a couple benchmarks ago. I hear this all the time. Like I was able to do this squat, this weight a couple benchmarks ago. And I tell them like, that was then like, you've either, a lot of times they've like traveled, taken a break for a few weeks, they've had an injury or something that set them back. And so we need to re-anchor their brains to a different weight. And not to say that they're never going to get back to that, but I think it is really hard for us when we've done something in the past.
For
Like
sure.
it's like I've done this before. I should be able to do it again. That's what we tell ourselves, even if it's self-conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
subconscious.
let's briefly touch on why muscle soreness happens. Most of the reasons that people will tell me, clients and a lot of well-meaning health professionals, are wrong
Mhm.
based on the science. So one of the big ones I hear is that muscle soreness is due to tears, micro tears in the muscles.
Mhm.
And there may be a little bit of that going on, but the research has shown that the pain people experience is not tightly correlated with the amount of damage
Mhm.
in the
Because if it
muscles.
was, it would happen right away. It wouldn't be this like delay like we see with delayed onset muscle soreness.
Yeah, hence the D in
Yeah.
the DOMS.
Yep. Yep.
What really happens in part is there's an inflammatory and immune response when your body undergoes that stress. So the stress adaptation response, it's like when you get exposed to a stress, you kick on the immune and inflammatory process. Kind of like, to use this analogy of the sun again, when you go out in the sun, you'll notice some people after they've been out in the sun for too long, they start to get red. That's inflammation happening within their skin. The body is sending markers and creating inflammation in the skin to heal from the burn.
Mhm. Yep. I mean, it's the same thing with a cut. Like immediately when you get a cut, it's like your body starts to send the like inflammatory markers to
Mhm.
help you stop bleeding and to help start repair. And so a lot of like the inflammation and the immune response is just our body reacting to a stress
Yeah.
or some type of, inflammatory marker that we've placed in the body. And that often tends to peak at about 24 to 48 hours, which lines up when usually people are most sore, which
Yeah.
is why it's delayed.
So I actually did my like capstone research paper in grad school and PT school on pain. And one of the things I learned was that pain is an experience that happens within our brains, and the brain uses all of these different inputs. I don't even know if inputs is the right word. It uses all of these different
Receptors.
receptors
Hmm.
in our periphery, in our tissues, to figure out if there's something potentially dangerous or threatening going on. And so it uses a combination of mechanoreceptors that sense pressure, temperature receptors, which sense temperature, chemoreceptors, which sense chemical imbalance and things like that. And so we have all those in our tissues. And after a hard workout, like a squat workout, your quadriceps will undergo changes in pressure because you might have some swelling. They'll undergo changes in chemicals and pH because you might have an alteration of chemicals and inflammatory things there. Um, and temperature, obviously, it's going to be hotter if it's inflamed.
Hmm.
And the combination of that is what leads to muscle soreness and the feeling and experience of pain within our tissues.
Yeah. Which is why it's delayed and not immediate. And another common thing that we hear is that the lactic acid is the main reason for soreness, which is a myth. And I remember learning about this from one of our favorite professors at UC Davis, Dr. Shafrath. And that was like one of the first things he talked about. He's like, there's so many people that just say like, oh, the lactic acid is causing the soreness. And really it's not. Like lactate is one of the ways that your body uses its fuel for your body. So your body does produce it. And there is an increase in lactate, especially when you're,
Training.
training. But just because something increases, like the correlation does not equal causation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can go up at the same time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the thing that's, increasing the soreness, which is like, if it was like, we would be sore right away,
Yeah.
but we're not. And then usually your body is really good at clearing out lactate. And so it's cleared from your system within like 30 to 60 minutes post exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, the research now shows that it's not due to lactic acid, which is a common myth in the exercise world.
Cool. So now we know a little bit about what causes muscle soreness physiologically. We talked about what causes it from an exercise standpoint. Let's talk about what to do about it, because it is an inevitable part of training. Like, you're going to get sore, and that's okay. It's not like if you get sore, you did something inherently wrong. The problem comes when you get so sore that it affects your next training session. And that's the big
Mhm.
thing I want people to take away. It's like, it's not that soreness is an indicator of a good workout, or if you get sore, you did something bad. It's just, you want to make sure you don't get so sore that
Mhm.
you can't do your next workout. Or like me, your adductors, your groin muscles get so sore from squats, and then you go ride your bike hard the next day that you pull a muscle. Like I've done this 5 or 6 times where I'll do a hard squat workout, I'll go ride my bike hard the next day, and then I go to do something like deadlifts, and my adductors, my groin muscles start cramping.
Mhm. Yeah. No one wants that.
No, I don't.
No.
I'm
No.
tired of it.
Yeah.
Sick of it.
Yeah. And I think that with strength training and consistency and longevity, like we said before, like consistency is the key for this and just adherence to a program. And that's going to give you way better results over the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, the rest of your life. So if you are getting sore so often that you're not able to perform at the level that you need to for your next workout, like you're probably going too hard. And so that's
Mhm.
just a really good indicator. Like if by the time I do my next workout, 2 or 3 days after I've done the previous one and I'm still sore and it's like impeding on my ability to push myself, not a like, oh, I feel a little sore. Like, I think there's a difference between like, okay, I feel a little sore, tight, and like I just need to get warmed up and then I'll actually feel better. That's okay. What's probably not okay is like I'm stuck in a certain position or I'm in so much pain, like I have to, turn my whole body one
Yeah.
way, or like I can't get up and down off the toilet, because the reality is that is going to affect your next workout and
Yep.
maybe your next few workouts, and that in the long term is going to hurt your ability to get stronger, and it's just going to really slow that progress down. And so
For
nobody
sure.
wants that.
Nobody
Everyone
wants
wants
that.
to no one wants to have to like walk sideways down the stairs and
Nope.
just like ease in and out of a chair. So I think we can all agree like no one wants that kind of soreness. And then if you do experience some soreness, we're going to talk about some tools for how to help
Yeah.
speed up the process
Mhm.
of soreness recovery if you do happen to push a little bit harder, or maybe you go do some type of event where you need to recover a little bit more, or you maybe just decided to push it one day in a workout and you want to help improve recovery.
So stretching is one of the first things that I'll hear people suggest as a potential solution to muscle soreness. And the research shows that stretching after a workout actually isn't all that helpful for preventing next day muscle soreness. So uh, I'm fine with people stretching. I actually think it's a good way to kind of calm down and restore themselves back to a rested state before they finish their workout. But it's simply not necessary to prevent soreness or even to reduce injury. It doesn't help with that stuff from what the research shows.
Yeah.
But what actually does help? So there's a bunch of stuff. Number one is compression. And that can look like a lot of different things. You could wear a compression garment. Like if you train legs, you can Amazon compression tights, something somewhat tight. And what that does is it helps to promote circulation and flushing out of blood within our our body, our legs, or whatever part of you you're using, and it's been shown to accelerate recovery. You can also get compression via massage or foam rolling. This is Nicole's personal
These are my
favorite.
two favorite tools. I could have a massage every day. Good thing I have a PT husband who loves to give me massages, and then foam rolling.
Do you have another husband that's not me?
That was a little bit sarcastic.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Wow.
I have to beg. Okay. Beg
Two
for
husbands,
5 minutes of a massage at night.
You got
Uh,
a thing for physical therapist husbands, I guess.
I guess
Got a
so.
couple
I
of
guess
them.
so. Yeah.
Because that one's not me that you just described.
So massage and body work, whether you're getting a massage from somebody else or you're using a tool like a foam roller, uh, or a lacrosse ball is another one of our favorites. That can help with improving circulation.
Theragun.
Yeah,
People always ask me,
Theragun.
like, what about, Doc, what about the gun? What about the gun? I'm like, what gun? Oh, the Theragun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Theragun's fine.
Yeah.
I have hardly used the Theragun. I find it kind of an annoying sensation, personally.
Yeah. I don't personally like it. I
don't like
love
getting
foam
punched.
rolling. I don't either.
So,
But I think that's kind of the same thing with like the massage where they like hit your back like
I don't
this.
like that either.
I don't like it either. So, but I think at the end of the day, one thing I will say, just overarching, is your recovery tool, whatever you choose, we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Whatever you choose, it should feel good and you should believe that it's actually helping. Because if you
Yes,
don't think
belief
it's
is so important.
if you don't think it's going to help you, don't waste your time, because it's probably not at the end of the day. And so, if which we're going to get into in just a second, hot and cold. Like if one feels really great after a workout and you think it helps with your recovery, do it. If you're like, this doesn't help at all, it's a waste of your time. So probably not worth it. There's also some things where it's like maybe in the short term, things like cold water can actually be, or like ice can be really good for recovery. But in the long term, like they can have some side effects like decreasing your body's ability to build muscle. And so you want to be careful with how you use some of these strategies, because sometimes you're just like, I'm sore, or I've got, a race in a couple of days. Like I'm going to do everything I can to maximize my recovery versus that's different than like, I'm really trying to improve my longevity. And
Specifically, strength is one of those adaptations. So if you do a hard strength training session and then go jump in the cold plunge, you are going to blunt the hypertrophy response. There's something about the inflammatory process that it seems to be really integral to building muscle and building strength.
Yep.
And jumping in the cold plunge right after seems to shut that process down. So sadly, our cold plunge right now is not working.
It isn't. The cooler broke. So we're hopefully getting a new one soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But cold plunge or cold water immersion can help with soreness. Again, ideally not right after you've done strength training. You want to wait about 8 to 12 hours, ideally. Because again, it can blunt that muscle growth signaling that your body needs in order to build muscle.
Yep.
You can also do contrast, so hot and cold, which we were doing for a while. We were doing like our hot tub and our cold plunge. And again, there's like some mixed research on if this is effective. And a lot of it is because these tools are very subjective. Like soreness is a very subjective thing.
Well, pain is subjective.
Yeah.
People don't like to hear that pain's in their head because they feel like it's not real. And it's like, well, it's not that it's not real. That a psychological experience is incredibly real. In fact, our entire lives are an experience in our brains.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it is. It's very tough to measure how much pain someone has.
Yeah. And then another thermal strategy would be hot. And so this can be things like a sauna, a hot tub, even just like a warm or hot bath. Ideally, you want a true sauna that is going to get up to high temperatures that will help to increase your heat shock proteins, which can help to protect your cells and report and also help with supporting repair of the tissues. It can also help with cardiovascular and metabolic health, specifically when you get into that really high temperature.
Like what?
And then
How hot?
I want to say, I think it was 180 to 220 is like the ideal.
220. Wow, I'd melt.
I know. And actually for women, it's more effective to do heat therapy. Like if you had to pick one, heat therapy is going to be more effective for women, specifically because
we're getting a sauna. Nicole finally talked me into it.
I did. I'm so excited.
It's supposed to get here today.
It is.
So we'll do a whole podcast on sauna, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then also heat can also just help with your muscles to be able to fully relax. Like, especially if you feel that really tight, like, oh, I did something, like heat is usually going to help your muscle to just relax and feel better. And so I would say that's probably a good strategy with recovering from soreness. Another one is low level movement.
Yes.
Oh, I think this is like one of my favorites because everyone can do it. Like you don't need any tools. You don't need, but you can move. And I often tell people, especially with things like this seems to be the thing that prevents soreness the most for after deadlifts is movement because people do heavy deadlifts. And then often they go sit.
They sit
all day.
And then the inflammation just kind of pools in their lower back. And then they wake up the next day and their lower back muscles are super sore. And they think, oh my gosh, I injured my back. And especially in folks that haven't strength trained in a long time or done deadlifts, they have a hard time differentiating between muscle soreness and pain. Actually, I see this a lot in my patients.
Yeah.
Like we'll do a glute exercise and it's like they haven't exercised in decades. And it's like, doc, they'll come back and say, wow, I had this terrible pain in my glute. And I'm like, I'm poking around. It's like, well, that's your muscle. And they're like, yeah. It's like, it went away. It started the next day and it went away after a few days. I'm like, oh, that's muscle soreness you experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would say that because of that, like you tend to kind of like slouch and sit in a position that isn't as good for your back. And so your back gets tight and, it's already sore. And so after doing that, then like Matt said, you're way more likely to wake up with a sore back the next day. Whereas you deadlift and then say you set a timer to get up like for 5 minutes every hour, or you're like, I'm going to try to walk a few times throughout the day and just like move my body. You'll feel way better if you move than if you just sit in a chair all day after you do any type of heavy strength training. But I think especially for deadlifts, like it seems like that's the thing that I
Gets
can almost
people.
always correlate it to like people will say I deadlifted and then the next day I woke up and my back hurt and I'll ask them if they sat after and 9 times out of 10 they always are like, "Yeah, I sat all day after I
Yeah,
deadlifted." So,
that's good.
yeah.
I find that if I go, like I said earlier, if I go do a hard cycling workout the day after squats, it makes it worse.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I mean, I ride my bike pretty often or do Peloton or something like that. And often I'll do my leg day and then I do a hard bike ride. And then the next day is like, oh my gosh. And that's where I've most of my muscle like cramps or pulls have happened following that recipe.
Sounds like you've got an intensity problem.
Yeah, or just as I'm stacking it
Too quickly.
stupidly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Um,
When I was in high school, I
you
like to
love to you love to refer to your high school days
I do. I
like
do. I
any
do. Yeah.
male
Reliving the glory days, Uncle
reliving the
Rico.
glory.
When I was in high school, I could throw a football a mile.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
kidding. That's a Napoleon Dynamite quote. Um, Anywho, we had a fantastic strength training program in high school football, and I attribute a lot of my love for training to what I learned in that program. And one of the things we would do is we would do squats. First day back season, like training for the summer, we would do these heavy squat workouts, tough squat workouts, and everybody would be super sore the next day. What we would do was really light overhead squats to kind of push out the soreness. So sometimes doing the same movement that you were doing before that got you sore in the first place can be helpful to kind of push out some of the soreness. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, low level movement.
And then I would say some of the biggest levers, like in general, another thing that I often ask people when they tell me like they're so sore is I ask them what they ate. Like, what has their diet been like? Because nutrition is going to be a huge component to
Yep.
like your body's inflammatory response. And so what you do outside of the gym really, really matters. What you eat, how you sleep, your hydration, your stress, all of those things are going to play into how much inflammation. So like if someone tells me like my back hurts, if they, say for example, they didn't, sit in a chair all day, then I ask them what they ate and they'll often say things like, "Oh yeah, I went out for someone's birthday last night
Hmm.
and I had a couple drinks and, and cake for dessert." And so their body's inflammatory response just spiked way higher than it would have if they went home and had, protein and veggies and drank enough water.
Yep.
And so, the big things that, I think would really actually help your soreness, like if you are worried about being sore, is sleep.
Hmm.
Because if you lose sleep, you're probably going to be more sore.
Yeah.
Nutrition, making sure that you're getting enough protein and
Yeah.
calories
Protein
to
is the
support
building
tissue.
block of muscle.
Yeah.
And we need enough of it. So I would say get 30 grams of protein after every workout just to check that box and make sure that you can recover.
And then also throwing in a lot of antioxidant rich foods that are going to help with inflammation. So our favorite is berries, leafy greens, just lots of fruits and vegetables that'll help to manage inflammation and just the oxidative stress that's happening in your body.
And this could be totally placebo for me, but I've felt less sore since I started taking creatine.
Oh yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't
Mm.
noticed the soreness even on days when I've gone like back to back with
And creatine's supposed to help
workouts.
with recovery so that you can
Mhm.
train harder sooner.
Mhm.
So I guess that makes sense. I don't know if I've read any specific studies that show its impact on muscle soreness, but it's worked for me.
Yeah. Another big one is hydration. So that just helps to make sure that your body is getting the nutrients it needs. It
Yep.
also helps improve circulation so that your body is able to clear out any waste products from those inflammatory responses. We already talked about limiting alcohol and excess sugar. Those things both increase inflammation in your body.
Hmm.
And then stress. So stress can increase your body's, again, inflammatory response. The cortisol, if it stays high, it can disrupt your sleep. It can also slow tissue repair. So try to do something in your day. This is hard for me. Try to do something in your day to decrease stress. You don't have to be productive at all times of day, as Matt likes to say.
You really don't,
So,
Nicole.
You don't.
You don't
It's
need
okay.
to.
It's okay to rest and recover.
You can also just do nothing. You could even watch
Yeah.
football if you wanted to.
Really.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
I'm not going to lie. I'm glad football season's almost over.
Ugh.
So at the end of the day, what's the verdict on soreness?
It's fine. It's neither a good nor a bad indicator of a good workout. It's an indicator of doing something new and novel,
Mhm.
or too much, or a lot of volume or
Mhm.
intensity.
So if someone's getting sore, say even they're just doing strength training and they think they're doing progressive overload, but say they're getting sore every time, what would you say to that person?
Well, I'd say listen to the nutrition and lifestyle stuff we talked about again, and then work on some of the strategies. But even more importantly, think about your workout. So they're doing progressive overload,
Hmm.
like they're doing the same
Hmm.
program
Hmm.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Um, I mean, it should get better. I'd want to know how long they'd been training for. Like if
Hmm.
they've been doing the same, like if they've been doing a program like ours for 12 weeks
Hmm.
and they're still super sore after every squat workout,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like
Hmm.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Almost never.
I mean, I think one way would be like maybe they're making too big of jumps.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they're increasing the weight too much every week if they're
absolutely.
still getting sore after, say, 3, 4, 5 weeks of progressive overload.
Yeah, but eventually they're going to get to the point where they can't do it with good form.
Totally.
All the repetitions should
Yeah.
get to that point pretty quickly if they're making big jumps.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, another thing we didn't touch on is eccentric exercises. So
Hmm.
the eccentric is like the lowering phase of a squat, the lowering phase of a deadlift. You can actually create a lot of muscle soreness from eccentrics because of just how stressful it is on your muscles. We're also a lot stronger in the eccentric phase. So we can do a lot more, like an eccentric pull up, for example. You can jump up and lower yourself down. People can do eccentric pull ups long before regular. Those tend to create a lot of muscle soreness if you do them. So that would be another thing to ask that person about.
Yeah. Love it. So if you had to say one thing that's most important for helping with soreness, what would be your takeaway? Maybe even just for you personally.
Um, well, I think what you do to get or not get sore is the most important. Like
Yeah.
it's like an ounce of prevention is worth 10 pounds of the cure.
Hmm.
It's like just don't get super sore in the first place. Maybe that time when I squatted 185, I probably should have squatted just the bar that first day and then 135 and then 185. I just needed a little more ramp up
Hmm.
and I wouldn't have been sore at all.
Hmm.
So give yourself plenty of time to ramp up. I think that's the biggest thing that I emphasize with people when I'm talking to them. It's they don't start slow enough and then they don't push themselves hard enough in the long term.
Hmm.
It's like training needs to start really, really gently
Hmm.
and then it needs to progress towards getting pretty aggressive
Hmm.
and intense to produce adaptations. But in order to get to that point where you can train in a way that's meaningful to drive strength and drive bone density and drive muscle, it's like you've got to build this really good foundation and base. And most folks exist in the middle. It's like they start too fast, they never progress far enough.
Correct. Yeah. That's good. I love
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Yeah.
What about you? Get more massages from your husband? Is that the moral of your story?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing would be protein. Like if I were to say like what
Protons, as Coach Hannah says.
protons, yes. I think that just your nutrition has so much to do with, building strength and recovering. And if you're not getting enough protein, like it just has a cascade effect on the
Hmm.
rest of your body, on your hormones, on your bone density, like your ability to build muscle. And I often find that when people aren't getting enough protein, like there's just going to be there's going to be a host of other issues in their workouts and they'll get frustrated or they'll plateau or they'll feel like lethargic when they're strength training. And so I
Yeah.
think that just making sure that that's a high priority, like nutrition, I think the nutrition component is way more challenging than the workouts. Like, not that it's easy, but like most people can get to the point where they strength train 3 days a week for an hour. And it's like, not that it's not hard,
Yeah.
but like once you build it into your life, you're like, okay, I can do this. And I think the harder thing is being able to get enough protein and monitoring your nutrition day in and day
Hmm.
out, because that's where a lot of the results come from.
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. Hope you don't get sore anymore. I hope you
Oh,
ramp up
man.
more slowly, I should say.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Well, this has been the Strength for Life podcast. Until next time, I'm Dr. Matt.
and I'm Nicole Klingler.
You guys stay stay strong. Don't get sore.
Don't get sore.
Bye, everybody.